Hey everybody, I'm Anne-Christine Diaz, Creativity Editor at Ad Age, coming to you from Los Angeles, and I'm here with...
I'm Alexandra Jardine, Associate Creativity Editor, coming to you from London.
And I'm reporter Jessica Wall, coming to you from Chicago. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. Welcome everybody to our favorite part of the week, the Ad Age Creativity Top 5 Live, where we look back on the most innovative and exciting brand ideas of the week. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure to tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and we'll give you guys a shout out. So Alex, you want to kick it off with our first one?
Sure. So at number 5 this week, we have EasyJet. Now, as we all know, planes haven't been flying very much recently, and airlines haven't been doing very much advertising. But the budget airline EasyJet has found a new way to stay relevant with consumers, despite the fact that many of its pilots have been grounded. In the campaign by Taylor Herring, the company tapped some pilots to give bite-sized lessons to homeschooling kids in the form of YouTube videos, which instruct the kids on subjects like science and physics, but in the more digestible form of lessons like how planes fly and how do pilots know where they are. Let's have a look at the video.
As parents, we all know how tough and challenging homeschooling can be. So whilst we're flying less, we are helping teach EasyJet flight-size lessons.
Our lessons will include basic science and geography, including how planes fly, why weather is important, and fun facts about airplanes.
I think EasyJet's Flight Size initiative is really fun and creative and a fun way for kids to learn things about aviation.
I thought this was a really cool idea. I mean, we've seen so much, so many things like this during the pandemic, you know, brands trying to help parents out, keep the kids occupied. But this was a new twist on the idea, don't you think? Because it fulfilled two different tasks, you know, like give something for the pilots to do. Also,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and keep the brand name out there. And the lessons are actually fun. If you go on YouTube, they're totally fascinating. And I don't know about you guys, but it's so hard for me to keep my kids, or at least my son, entertained in front of his school lessons. And I feel like he would actually sit down and watch some of these.
Yeah, and I would much rather that a pilot answered a question like how do planes fly from my kids than I try to answer that, because that would just be a disaster.
Yeah,
I think I could learn something. I think I could learn something from watching these and watching them with my kids. So yeah, definitely have to check them out. And I like that they're giving the pilots a way to use their knowledge. That's what's really interesting about this one.
Yeah, and they are really fascinating too. Like do you guys know how planes fly? I actually didn't, but then when I watched the video, it totally made sense. And one of the pilots actually demonstrated the science behind planes flying with a paper airplane. So if you scroll down through the story that we have, you could check out some of those lessons and just go on EasyJet's YouTube channel as well. So it was super fun, super informative. I loved it. It's sad that we still have to do these kinds of things, but this is a good take on that idea, helping parents out and the kids. So Jessica, you want to tell us about our next one?
Sure. So we'll stay in London, and the next one is a McDonald's campaign. It's called Lights On. It comes from Leo Burnett, London. McDonald's has obviously found ways to use its iconographic arches in advertising. This is a way of delivering the arches, but in a very minimal way. So you can see the arch, and it's a single arch lighting up someone's house with the idea that McDonald's delivers. The word McDonald's is nowhere near there. You don't see the full arch, but it's pretty clear who's doing the advertising. And again, this comes from Leo Burnett, London. So it's a way to promote the brand when restaurants are still closed or dining rooms are still closed, and you can get delivery. That image, I think, of in the tube, I think you can actually sort of make it out that it's the arches, the purple and the green one next to each other, but it's still a fun representation.
Yeah, I really like the creative in this as well. This idea of like the light and the darkness that we've all been living in the UK, where restaurants have been closed since December now, and getting a takeaway can quite often be the highlight of your week.
Yeah, so, I think it's also testament to the strength of McDonald's branding and its symbolism. Whether it's its colors and obviously the golden arches, that image is so strong in consumers' minds. You don't even need the double arches. You don't even need the name of the McDonald's brand. You could cut the arch in half and people would still recognize it. So that's just yet another example of McDonald's great branding. Speaking of which, McDonald's was in the news again this week, or continuing our conversation on McDonald's branding. Jessica, you want to tell us about a survey that we did this week?
Yeah, so we had a survey out with Harris Poll asking U.S. consumers about the two new logo overhauls from McDonald's and Burger King. And if anybody missed our conversation, you can go back and watch last week's Remotely episode where we discussed the designs with our colleague Eric Spooner. But for consumers, it's interesting to see what they thought of the overhauls and would it make them buy more of the products. People really seem to like both of them. Burger King edged out McDonald's by a little bit. There were lots of comments about nostalgia and playfulness and things like that. So the interesting thing to me was that consumers, more than 40% of consumers who liked either one of the overhauls said that it would compel them to go to the restaurants, which is obviously what they want. They want more interest in the brands, and it seems to be something that could deliver. Again, these are not completely rolled out, but they are starting to appear in restaurants as they run out of packaging and things like that, as we discussed before. So it will be interesting to see how much of a lift they get from the new looks. And you can read the whole story on adage.com. So the poll was done in the middle of February, right after McDonald's came out with its new look.
Yeah, so Burger King edged out McDonald's by just a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens too, if that plays out in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind the design edged out, Burger King's design edged out McDonald's. McDonald's is still a lot bigger than Burger King or really anybody else. So
yeah. So speaking of strong brand equity, there's another brand that we've been seeing a lot of over the past year, and that's Kraft Heinz ketchup. And a lot of it is thanks to Canadian agency Rethink, which has been doing a lot of fun work around Kraft during the pandemic. So the latest campaign they did was called Hold for Heinz. And basically, Rethink took Heinz Ketchup's website and turned it into this giant loading page, or it made the loading time for the website last so long, exactly 57 minutes exactly to load. And anyone who can sit through those 57 minutes is rewarded with a page that allows them to sign up for a contest where they could win a burger kit with various condiments and not I think a spatula. But it was just another fun way to play on the equity of Heinz ketchup. We know it for the number 57. We know it for taking forever to come out of the bottle. And this is just another playful example of that. So what did you guys think of this?
Yeah, it's another really great idea from Rethink. They keep coming up with these things that are just very original and engaging, and they have a kind of strong kind of PRable element as well. You know, I don't know how many people will actually go and wait for the 57 minutes for the thing to load, but people are talking about it, and that's the point.
Yeah, and their ideas are kind of torturous, just like it's probably torturous to wait for the ketchup to come out of the bottle. First there's this, and then I can't even look at the page for 1 second. It just gives me like so much anxiety. But like earlier, they had the all red ketchup puzzle where every piece of the puzzle was just a solid Heinz red. So it's just so playful. All these ideas are contests and promotions, but they work together to reinforce the Heinz ketchup brand. So I think it's fantastic. So you guys out in the audience, let us know what you think of this. And for now, we have some shout outs. Jessica, you want to read those?
Sure. We have Ayolanda from Spain, Kithan from Jamaica, Manpreet from India, Patrick from Colombia, Inonj from Zambia, sorry, Kathleen from Illinois, Barbie Joe from Rhode Island, Viola from Kenya. Thanks everybody for watching.
Hi.
Hey all, thanks for joining us. So for our next one, Alex, you want to tell us about that?
Sure. The next one comes from Mountain Dew, and they are taking us on another trip down memory lane by resurrecting Bob Ross, the iconic host of the series The Joy of Painting. Now, the real Bob Ross sadly passed away in 1995, but he's seen a resurgence in popularity over the last year. He's on the shows on various streaming platforms, and perhaps the kind of soothing, non-judgmental nature of his lessons are exactly what we needed in the pandemic. And in the new campaign, Mountain Dew is bringing Bob Ross back for one more tutorial on how to paint a bottle of dew. Let's take a look at the ad.
How about we add some happy little droplets? Sometimes in life you get a little thirsty. And when a refreshing opportunity comes along, you can just... shoot, that's good.
This campaign, just to explain, this is a teaser, and there is a full actual episode where you get to follow Bob Ross painting the bottle of Mountain Dew that will air on YouTube on March the 6th. And there's some other elements of the campaign that they're going to reveal over the next week or so. I think there's a paint giveaway and stuff like that. This comes from TBWA Chart Day, and they've really been mining the nostalgia recently. They had an ad a couple of weeks ago that brought back Gizmo from Gremlins. They did something based on The Shining, but this kind of goes a step further in that they actually tried to, bring back Bob Ross, and the way they did it is really interesting. They cast a body double who had the same build and demeanor as Bob Ross, and then they used CGI and face mapping to make his face match, and they hired a real painter to do the painting, and it was all done with the blessing of the Bob Ross Foundation.
Oh my God.
Is it Bob Ross?
No, it's not Bob Ross. But it's Jack Neff, our editor at large. Hey, Jack, thanks for joining us.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Jack is one of our resident marketing experts alongside Jessica. So thanks for joining us. This is your first time on Top 5.
It is.
And you came just in time to talk about Bob Ross.
Yeah, it's a fascinating pairing. Bob Ross and Mountain Dew. He's one of the calmer voices you are ever going to run into. I think he could be used for relaxation, and you're pairing him with the soft drink with the highest caffeine content around. So it's an interesting contrast from that point of view.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I will say it's wonderful, and obviously makes you think very good things about Mountain Dew. But it's an interesting contradiction of character and brand. I'll put it that way.
I do wonder, did Bob Ross drink Mountain Dew? Like, it's really a question I have.
Maybe we'll see what happens.
Gizmo clearly, if you watch the Gizmo one, like Gizmo should not be drinking Mountain Dew. Gizmo does not need any more Mountain Dew or anything. But like Bob Ross maybe could use a couple sips sometimes.
Yeah, he probably, getting through a whole lesson,
Well, he liked mountains, didn't he? He was always painting mountains, so presumably that's the connection as well.
I get it. I just think, it would be really funny if we went back and saw some pictures of Bob Ross like on set and chugging some Mountain Dew.
But who knows? Maybe that'll happen after the tutorial.
Yeah, we're all going to watch it.
Yeah, so but I'm so excited to do it. It's March 6th. Yeah. So if you go on Mountain Dew's YouTube channel, you could sit there and paint with Bob a bottle of Mountain Dew, which will be awesome. I think I'm gonna do it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely gonna try that out.
I think this is a clever one. I think there seems to be a kind of cult of Bob Ross at the moment. My kids are really obsessed with him, and I think because it's been on sort of during the pandemic, people who don't have things to do or they want a way to relax have just been painting along with Bob.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny though, because he is such a cult icon. Like, I like the idea. I feel like it kind of stands out. It's different from the Gizmo idea, from the Shining idea. It takes a whole different tone. But when we posted on Instagram, we got a ton of comments like, somebody said, "Love me some Bob Ross, but this doesn't sit right." Someone else said, "Tone deaf." Another person said, "This sucks. Great execution, but awful taste." This is everything that's wrong with the world today. I don't know, audience. What do you guys think? Are you pro or anti Bob Ross and Mountain Dew?
That seems a little harsh to me. I don't know that it's really destroying the world to see Bob Ross pitch Mountain Dew, and seems to have the blessing of his estate. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And the world could use a little more calmness right now. He's got to be one of the greatest calming influences you're ever going to have, even if the product is not. So.
Okay, so we're talking about a lot of food. And we have Jessica with us. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about what else is going on in the food and beverage world. This week has been a big week for chicken sandwiches, right, Jessica?
It's always a big week for chicken sandwiches, but this week is definitely one of the biggest. McDonald's came out with its new crispy chicken sandwich officially on February 24th. We're still waiting for the ads to break on that, but obviously there's been a ton of buzz about that one. Popeyes had a little bit of fun this week too. On Taco Tuesday, it decided to teach people how to make chicken sandwich tacos, because you may have also heard that our good friends at Taco Bell have come out with a chicken sandwich. They're calling it a sandwich, not a taco, but there's that element too. So you've got a KFC new chicken sandwich. You've got a Taco Bell coming out with a chicken sandwich. Popeyes wants to obviously maintain its part in the conversation. So it showed people how to make a chicken sandwich on TikTok into tacos, if you want to take a look.
DIY food hack Popeyes chicken sandwich, but make it to tacos for Tuesday. Step 1: buy the sandwich. Step 2: open the sandwich. Step 3: rub the two buns to spread the sauce. Do it even though rubbing the two buns sounds so wrong. Step 4: tear the chicken in half. Step 5: fold the bun. Put the chicken inside. and garnish with the pickles because they're jalapenos' first cousins. Step 6. Amo those tacos from Popeyes.
The voice in that just.
I know. I just love how bad it is, and the mispronunciation of everything. And then why was it step uno dos tres? Like,
because
it's
closed,
a mockery of Taco Bell when you think about it.
Oh yeah, taco.
And using the standard TikTok. I don't know how. I haven't made a TikTok video, I'll have to admit, so I don't know how you access the TikTok voiceover, but it was perfect. It was perfect for this purpose.
When I saw it though, too, it was like, oh my God, I could just make tacos out of my sandwiches. This whole time I've been cutting my chicken sandwiches or burgers in half, but you could just make them tacos. Yeah. It's easier and cleaner. What?
There's a valuable lesson that you can make literally anything into a taco if you want to.
Yeah.
Really.
Anyways, I just love how Popeyes continues to just insert itself into the conversation. But we had another player too, right, Jessica, this week?
Yeah. So at the end of January, Church's Chicken came out with a new tenders and shrimp meal, and they decided to make a lookbook. So I actually have it here. You can also read about it on the website, but there's like a real fashion lookbook. It's a hardcover book that I got all about chicken tenders and shrimp. So the gentleman is tall, gold, and handsome, and it tells you all about the different things. So it's much like a Fashion Week book would be, kind of random, but works. And there's also a fanny pack involved, or maybe I should call it a belt bag, where you can store your chicken tenders, because obviously you want to be able to take them with you, keep them warm. So yeah. I don't know when I will be out wearing this, but if anyone sees me, just say hello. Because you won't be able to see my face because I'll have a mask on, but I'll be having some tenders and shrimp walking around the street. Why not?
I thought that was really interesting because we see all these fast food brands coming out with their own fashions, their own sweats, their own, T-shirts. But Church's Chicken went all out and said, hey, we don't care about the clothes. Look at our chicken. So it's this whole lookbook dedicated to, what you're really supposed to be buying at Church's Chicken, which is chicken.
And the different shapes of it, because they're tenders and they're little, they're pieces of white meat chicken. It's not all the same shape. It's not all the same size. So they did have some fun coming up with the names for the different shapes. It's fun. I'm not sure if this branding is like popping up in the restaurants. I'm guessing the restaurants have their usual signage, not something like this, but maybe they'll use it there too.
Yeah, and we'll see that book on your coffee table from now until forever, right, Jessica?
We'll see what my vegetarian daughter has to say about a book about chicken on the coffee table. But hey, you never know. But again, fried chicken is continuing to have a moment in America. I know it's a big surprise to everybody, but people like fried chicken.
They have caught the basic fact that, a good chicken tender has to have an irregular shape. You get the ones that do not have that, and they are automatically suspect. And so,
yeah, I think you hit on the key insight right there, Jack. So before we move on, we have more shout outs. We have Angie from Arizona, Gusef from Turkey, Lakenda from California, Teofilo from the Dominican Republic, Lisa from Maryland, Nimit from India, Luis from Mexico, and Mohamed from Iraq. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. And so finally, which is why we wanted Jack to come visit, we have our number one items or number one campaigns. Jessica, you want to tell us about the first? We have two in number one. So Jessica will tell us about the first one.
Yeah, we have a duo of breastfeeding related ads this week. The first one comes from Tommy Tippy, and this one is created out of Manifest. So there's a video, scene after scene of women and some fruit to express feeding, leaking. There's always a food angle, right? but there's. I don't know if we can show a clip so that I don't sound like a crazy person. There is more involved.
You should.
Let's take a quick look.
Yeah.
Quick to the hip, stick, coming off steam. Better not catch your bluff. What's a king to a queen? Watch your back in my spotlight, all the eyes on me. You can lay and be a smart guy, just the A1 team. I'm the queen of this town, round here we like to get down. Freak it up to this sound, like I'm the baddest, I'm the best in this. Shoulda la 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 la, shoulda la 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 la, shoulda la 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 la, shoulda la la la. Quick to the pound, be on the sideline and sit down. I lay clean to the crown. Pull it up, get a drink, down round. Essence of the best sense, got a few cents left for the whole crew stepping out smooth in. I'ma buy the bar tonight, so drink till your feet get light. Shoulda la 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 la, shoulda la la la, shoulda la 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 la, shoulda la la la.
So that was the first of 2 breastfeeding ads that we saw this past week. And the second one comes from Frida Mom, which is a mom wellness brand. So the story here is last year, Frida Mom tried to run in a spot during the Oscars, and it focused on the postpartum period of motherhood. And it was pretty controversial. It showed a mom still in that mesh underwear that the hospital gives you after you have a baby, sitting on a toilet changing her sanitary napkin. And apparently that spot got rejected from the Oscars. But now this year, Frida Mom is back with another ad that focuses on breastfeeding. And this one is actually definitely going to run on the Golden Globes. Can we take a look at that?
You've got this. Latch. And oh God, unlatch. And clog. And good mom should know how to do this. And am I a bad mom if I stop now?
And my doctor said cabbage. And do I love my baby?
And cluster feeding.
So much milk.
Not enough milk. And what even is enough milk?
And flatten the nipple.
And I just want to feed my baby.
So that one was actually the broadcast cut of the spot. There is an extended version that's running online, which shows way more. It's more in line with the Tommy Tippy ad. And so, yeah, it's kind of a monumental week for feminine products or breastfeeding products. Jack, you're our resident expert on bodily functions or products related to bodily functions. So can you tell us what's going on here? I feel like we're seeing more and more of this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I guess I am the specialist in covering all products that deal with fluids that come out of the body. And there's definitely a lot more forthrightness about all of these things, but the market seems to accept it. And that's interesting. I think with these 2 ads, too, you see just 2 very different takes on breastfeeding, really. You see the happy, joyous celebration of breastfeeding from Tommy Tippy. You see more of the harsh realities and doubts and recriminations that some women face and various issues related to breastfeeding from Frida Mom. And it's interesting. I feel like Frida Mom is a lot more realistic about what people actually face as they're going through the issues. And the other interesting thing about Frida Mom, too, is that, what they faced a year ago with the Oscars rejection of their ad leads to suspicion that they were just seeking publicity and not really trying to seriously make an effort to be on the Oscars. This year, they worked with NBC Universal. They got the ad to the point that it could run on broadcast in addition to an extended version that is not safe for television. And you got to hand it to them for their seriousness in trying to actually bring the issues behind their brand to the forefront, I feel like.
Yeah, and I feel like between the Oscars period last year and now, it's kind of like a steady progression of brand building for Frida. I feel like it's a brand that likes to confront these realities, and it's done so in different ways. Prior to this, between these two spots, it had also worked with Maximum Effort, with Ryan Reynolds' agency, and they had that film about no dicks, basically, which was funny, and it was a different voice. But I think with the Oscars spot and this one, it's kind of a more powerful brand voice for Frida. It's like it's a steady build, and this last spot was from Mechanism, and it was actually directed by Rachel Morrison, who, in a nice nod to the Golden Globes, she's an acclaimed cinematographer. What did you guys think of this? Also, audience, what do you guys think of seeing boobs on air, or almost full boobs on air?
I thought it was awesome, and I think a lot of women will really relate to it. People are getting much more. I think women have always been ready to see this stuff, but there's been a sort of culture that you can't talk about these things. The same with period products. You had to kind of refer to them very obliquely. And now people want to talk about this stuff openly and honestly. And, I wish that this had been around when I was feeding my kids, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Freedom Mom does kind of point to, some of the ridiculousness of broadcast standards for advertising too. I mean, what you can show, what you can't show in a commercial, what you can't show, when the Facebook algorithm trips you up versus, some of the things you can show in programming on broadcast. I mean, you can show blood spurting out of a bullet hole, but you can't show, any other natural human function. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah. I mean, it's also the steady progression of a more openness in all sorts of categories, like Essity, for example, and the blood normal spot and the various ads that we've seen out of AMV BBDO. I feel like that's helping to push the conversation forward, but it's been happening for a while, right? Like, does it feel like it's more so now, or is it highs and lows in terms of how?
It's more so across more categories, but it's been going on for well over a decade. I mean, you go back to You by Kotex, I think 2010, starting to mock some of the conventions in feminine protection advertising, and, something like Hello Flow with First Moon Party, which is hilarious, that came a few years later. And then it's gone on from there. But there's definitely more of it. I think, most likely polarizing, but I'm not sure that the people who are turned off by it are the people who are going to be buyers of these product categories in a lot of cases. So,
yeah, and we saw an ad that mentioned poop, the laxative spot, right?
Yes. So you get to say, I guess you always could say poop on air, but nobody really did, and certainly not in laxative advertising. But Philips has started to do that as well, and I think people appreciate the honesty, honestly, and it caused me to go back to look back at old generations of laxative advertising recently, and
what did you say?
It was really bad. I mean, constipation is something that it's been talked about in these ads for a long time, but it's all these kind of hush tones or
like euphemisms, like.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly, nobody mentioned poop before.
No, it was all like oblique references to bloating and stuff. Oh, I feel so
bloating and nothing about what really is driving people. And I guess a little known fact too, and bears further looking at. Constipation is, I'm told by the experts at Bayer, something that is on the increase during the pandemic from the combination of bad diets, people not moving around as much, and so their product has been doing very well. Anyway,
so I can't wait to see the flood of constipation ads that we're going to, or laxative.
We're going to see more, and probably a lot more honesty about the whole thing. So I guess better or worse, people are going to be thinking about this.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Jack. If you guys want to check out all the ads that we're talking about in full, we're going to throw a QR code up on the screen, and you could just shoot that and it'll take you straight to the story. And feel free to add comments on our Instagram, on this this post about what you think about bodily functions, and then we'll revisit it in the future. So thanks again for joining us this week. We love having this conversation with all of you every Friday. And thank you to Alex, Jessica, and Jack, and Alfred, Max, and Anna in the background, at least who's doing our social. And we will see you guys next week.